Hello.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Hey, George, how's everybody?
I'm doing good. Looks like a slow meeting for our between holiday week.
Yeah, we only have 5 instead of 12, right?
Hello, gentlemen.
Good
Hey,
afternoon, Tim.
George, I got in trouble earlier.
Uh-oh.
Dr. Ryan, he was giving out his phone number and I was writing it down. He said, "Oh, emergencies only, Mayor. Emergencies only." But he caught me.
It's all good, Mike.
Hey, I might want to call you at midnight on the 31st just to wish you a happy new year.
I hopefully will be sound asleep.
Oh yeah, that's me too. I don't know when the last time I stayed awake till midnight on New Year's Eve.
I'll be up. I'm ready to welcome in 2021.
Yeah.
Worth staying up for me.
All right, we give it a couple more minutes. What is that shirt you have on, John Kane?
It's snowflakes.
Look at that.
It's Frozen related. I want to, you got to love that movie.
Do I, John?
I've personally seen it 78 times, and Frozen 2, I think, close to that many. So once you get to that level, it's a whole different thing,
All right. It looks like we've got, we'll give 2 more minutes. Hey, Chip, how are you? Good to see you.
Morning, doing great. How's everybody?
Good, good.
Weather up in the mountains.
How's the weather? Well, it's supposed to, I can't see outside, but it was supposed to start snowing a little while ago. Have we seen any out there? I haven't been out of the restaurant all day long. Steve, have we seen some snow today?
It's snowing.
Yeah, it's blowing around.
All right, let's go ahead and get started. Thanks everybody for being here on this Monday. I hope everybody had a nice Christmas holiday under the circumstances, of course. And again, I hope that all businesses did some sort of business this weekend. So with that, I like to go around the table. Well, first, Dr. Ryan, you may need to be somewhere. So let's go ahead and start with you and get the update of kind of what's going on with the state and the country and what you're thinking of us going to the 50 or the 25% for our restaurants, and what we may want to keep an eye on, and things that can guide us to keep us at that level. Dr. Ryan?
Thanks, Mike. Things are pretty much standard across the country. They haven't really changed much, unfortunately. As far as Clear Creek County goes, the state continues to see a decline in cases. Although anecdotally, what I saw at Christmas was a lot more gatherings than I saw at Thanksgiving. So we'll see how that washes out. But across the state, we continue to have a steady decline. Similarly, in Clear Creek County, we're holding steady with a slight decline. That little blip under 350 this weekend was a data lag. The 12 cases we've had in the last 7 days is certainly less than we've had historically over the last several months. So we're definitely headed in the right direction in our county. Last week, as you may have heard, we vaccinated our first 104 people in the county. This week, we are receiving 200 additional vaccines, and hopefully that number holds steady moving forward each week. We're reaching out to those groups as they sort of move their way up the queue, just to give them a heads up. And unfortunately, we didn't know we were getting 200 vaccines until about 3 days ago. So it doesn't give us tons of time to get those lists together. So if you do get an email from us, please respond as quickly as you can. One thing that we're considering is using, and this has been the case so far, we're using a champion from each group. So for instance, at Department of Health, I'm obviously the person who's in charge of getting everyone queued up. We might similarly ask and reach out eventually to businesses to say, hey, Mike, can you get everyone queued up in your restaurant that wants employees that want to get the vaccine? It really helps us to plan and understand how many vaccines on any given day we're going to need to administer. It also, and more importantly, it helps us to follow up, because that individual needs to come back 28 days later. If they don't come back 28 days later, then that vaccine was wasted. And we're really trying to logistically figure out what is the best plan of attack in terms of making sure that everyone is accounted for and gets their shot when they need it. So I would continue to do what you're doing. I'm interested to hear back from the restaurants in terms of what that 25% of capacity looked like this weekend and moving forward. We're going to continue to stay at that until we can get numbers further down and get below that 350 mark. But right now we're holding steady, I think is a good thing. Any questions?
We did have a question in the chat. It says, was that 100 doses a week, 200 doses, or because we were expecting 100 and we just ended up with 200?
Your guess is as good as mine. So what seems to be happening is the federal government is sending out, and Colorado gets, as I stated before, we're 1.39% of the total US population. So we get 1.39% of the total weekly vaccines available. And then they take off 25% right off the top of our numbers. The reason they do that is because the federal government, in a box, made a contractual agreement with Walgreens and CVS to vaccinate all of the nursing care facilities in the United States. The problem with that is they left the states out of it. So we have absolutely no idea when and how the nursing care facilities are going to get vaccinated. It's a total black box that the state has no idea of the details. So every week on Thursday, the state learns how many vaccines they're going to receive. And then the state subsequently decides each county, now we have 2 different vaccines, which counties are going to receive which vaccines and how many of them. So it's going to be pretty much every Friday, we're going to learn how many vaccines we're going to get the following week. It really gives us about 4 days heads up in terms of when we get them and when we learn about what we're getting and when we need to administer them. So we were under the impression we were getting 100 a week, pleasantly surprised to find out we're getting 200 this week. It may go up, it may go down. We're planning for a minimum of 100, but you know, that remains to be seen. I don't count doses until I have them in my hand.
So there's been a lot of talk, Dr. Ryan, on mandating, whether it's government or businesses, trying to mandate getting the vaccine. Do you have any guidance with us on that? I know that's going to be, you know we need to get around that, what, 75% for herd immunity to be able to really work. You know, I believe it's constitutional right for us as a city to say, hey, everybody has to take a COVID a vaccine. Can you give us any guidance or any thoughts about that? You know, I mean, we've been talking about it. Of course, we don't want to say, hey, you have to do this as company policy. And they say, well, I'll go to a company that doesn't want to vaccinate me because I don't believe in it.
Yeah.
Can you give us any kind of idea of how we should be treating this?
You know, Mayor Hillman, every time I talk about this, and I'm on a call with Bob Loeffler, he he has the opposite opinion that I have. So I'm going to take Bob's advice. Companies can mandate it. Obviously, the state government and the county government, we can't mandate you take a vaccine. And even if we did that, if you have, and the state recognizes this, right? If you have a valid reason for not getting it, one, a medical reason, there are certain people who can't receive the vaccine. The second exemption is you have religious beliefs. I don't know what religion doesn't believe in vaccines. There's a couple out there off the top of my head, but if that isn't the fact the case and you mandate it, they are exempt. Legally, they can be exempt from that. And then they have a form that basically states that. I would encourage anyone and everyone you can to get it. It's free of charge. The likelihood of them having any sort of reaction is quite minimal. Out of the 104 we vaccinated, we had one person who had a slight fever for half a day, and it subsequently went away. So those individuals who are going to have anaphylactic shock, they have that no matter what vaccine it is, whether it's the flu, measles, mumps, or this vaccine. So we're prepared for those individuals. I would still encourage those folks to get it, and we'll deal with the issue at that time. But it's a legal question that for which I am not a lawyer. So I would suggest everyone get it that can to help protect those who cannot.
All right. With that, anybody have any questions for Dr. Ryan?
Dr. Ryan, do you think there's any possibility that restaurants are going to be able to get to where we can seat 25% or 50 guests per room versus a total?
Yeah, I mean, we're at 25% total, but to your point, more people per room. Yeah, I imagine.
I thought we were 25%, but it's a total maximum of 50% per facility. And prior to going to this level, we were able to get 50 people per room or 25%.
Right. Yes, you're correct. It's 50 maximum people total per restaurant, regardless of the size or number of rooms. I don't know, Chip, off the top of my head, when that would happen. I mean, if our numbers continue to decline as they have been, this next 3 weeks is really going to be the pinch point. I know you've heard me say that before, but between Christmas and New Year's, it's really going to depend on what comes out of that. If we act in a way that we did around Thanksgiving and our numbers, and we have a similar outcome than we did at Thanksgiving, I would suggest in maybe a couple of weeks that we would really be at that point and potentially even at 50% occupancy.
Okay, thank you.
Again, all highly dependent on the numbers and what we're seeing out in the community. If things hit the fan again and we go back up to the 450 plus, then, you know, I wish I could control that as much as I want to, but it is what it is. So if our numbers go south, awesome. If our numbers go north, not so awesome, and things are going to change for the worse.
And right now, where are we sitting on testing? What's the percentage of tests that are coming back positive? And Where are we on that 350, that 35 that we need to be at? Where are
We're
we?
currently at 359, basically 360 per 100,000. And as far as testing are concerned, we had 5 positives out of the 100 that tested from curative. But there are other people who live, for instance, in Jefferson County or work in Jefferson County, got tested in Jefferson County, that came up as well. So that 5 out of the 100 isn't the total story. We've had 12 total cases in the last 7 days.
Okay.
Only 5 of them coming from the curative testing that we're doing on Wednesdays. So
But we don't know how many total tests were done out to get to that 12.
I don't know. The problem with it is we don't, if you go over to Jefferson County Fairgrounds, just as an example, because you live on the east end of town or east end of the county, if your test is negative, we have no idea. We don't learn about that. We only learn about it if you're positive.
Okay.
And I know a lot of people are going out of the county, either east or west, to get tested elsewhere. So
Right.
Dr. Ryan, would that cause our positivity rate to be overstated, I think, right? If we have people who are getting tested that are negative and we don't know they got tested.
yeah, it would have an impact, but I think the majority, George, are getting tested within our county, just given our numbers and how many we're testing. I mean, we've been testing 200 plus in the county for the last several weeks. And so I think the vast majority, I would guess probably 90% of people who get tested are getting tested in the county. And right now our test positivity rate isn't the issue. It's at 5%, which is really good. 2% would be better, but 5% is not the issue. It's our total case counts is the issue. So
How much does that testing ratio go into that to figure that out? Is that much of a factor at all then?
yeah, so no, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, so if I live in Idaho Springs and I for some reason want to go to Evergreen to get tested, or to Jefferson County Fairgrounds to get tested, but I put down as my place of residence Idaho Springs, it would still count me as a negative, tested and negative. But we only learn about, I don't see that number, that test number, because they're tested outside. It's just added to our test positivity. Does that make sense?
Or negativity?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Because I know my daughter had to, get some tests before she flew out here a few weeks ago, and she got it done down in the city.
Yeah.
And that's
no, everything is tied to when you get tested, you have to put your home of residence, your home address, and that's where it's. So even if you got tested in North Carolina for some strange reason, or Hawaii, Chip, we wouldn't count you, because if you were positive, we'd automatically see you're in Hawaii and you're not coming back. We would pretty much discount you as a positive and or a case.
Would that count as a negative then? Because she did get tested here.
That's a good question. I don't know, but that's happened so few and far between. I don't think it's really going to affect our numbers. So long story short, we're heading in the right direction. Keep doing a great job, everyone. I'm really hoping we get to 50% this next couple weeks and see what plays out from New Year's and Christmas, and hopefully similar to what we saw at Thanksgiving, not a huge bump. Will really set us up in a good place. And, given that we're a small county and we're getting 200 doses a week, if that stays the same or even goes up, I mean, we're going to have our population vaccinated a heck of a lot quicker than a lot of the bigger counties. And so we're prioritizing the groups that we think will have the greatest impact in terms of vaccinating them and protecting not only the functionality of our community, but also the economic engine of our community. So we're keeping all of that in mind. We're prioritizing things as we get them. It's a little challenge, as I suggested, by the numbers and not knowing what they are until a few days before, but we're working with what we got.
At this point in time, do you have any thoughts of when restaurant workers maybe, because they're going to be kind of upwards in the tier to the queue, right?
Chip, it's a difficult question to answer because if next week, for instance, we get 100 and then we keep getting 100 instead of 200, that clearly is going to change the timeline. So it's difficult to guess. I would guess in the next couple months at the maximum, we're going to be getting to that level. And our biggest challenge, as I suggested, is really making sure that we have a system in place that takes into consideration accountability, and making sure these folks come back and get their second vaccine is huge. And so we're sort of seeing people as free range as opposed to caged. is a strange term, but folks that are tied to something like a job, right, or they live in a certain complex, et cetera, where we have somebody in that position, like the manager at Bojo's, for instance, would be responsible for making sure that all the employees that are willing and wanting to get the vaccine are making sure that they go back. We don't have the staff to follow up on hundreds and potentially soon thousands of people to make sure that they come back for their second vaccine. It's going to be quite logistically challenged to do that. So we will give you guys enough heads up as much as we get, and we're trying to get people in queue a little sooner than they're actually going to get the vaccine. And just keep that in mind. If you do get an email from us saying, hey, Chip, can you give this to your manager and have your manager send it out to all employees, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't mean you're getting the vaccine this week or next week. It means we're trying to understand how many people can we expect from Bojo's to be vaccinated, and make sure that we have that allotted amount. Because part of the logistics with this vaccine is once you stick a needle in the first time, you have 6 hours to use that entire vial. So if we have 51 people, it becomes quite logistically challenged now, because we pulled that because there's only 10 vaccines per vial. And we don't want odd numbers. We want 10 people lined up for each vial and make sure that we have them. We don't want to be scrambling for random people because we have 5 more hours to fill this or use this vial. It logistically is quite challenging to make sure that all those things are covered.
Are we at the very beginning of the vaccine? I think there was some cases they were finding out that they had more in a vial than the actual doses. And they were actually, I think it was, I want to say it was 3 vials you get an extra dose out of. Are we seeing anything like that up here?
Yeah, Mike, we did. We had 104 people that were vaccinated. But one of the things that we discovered is, and started to think about, is that if you continue to do that, you have to sort of guarantee that there's going to be 4 extra vaccines in the next round that you get 4 weeks from now. And so that it's a huge conundrum, and one that we debated greatly on Wednesday to say, do we throw this out because we are worried that we're not going to get 4 additional vaccine doses the next time around, which is a nightmare scenario for people in public health to throw out vaccines. Or do we take the chance and use what we have? So we rolled the dice at this time around and got 4 extra vaccines, but we're not sure yet what we're going to do moving forward, because it's a slippery slope and one that we don't want to be in, where we have suddenly 30 or 40 people for whom we don't have an extra vaccine for a second vaccine. A lot of logistical fun.
Do we have? Is this the Pfizer that the vaccine needs to be kept at what, 80? What is it? 80, 90 below?
Yeah, negative 80 centigrade. No, this isn't Moderna. It's far simpler to work with. The moment we receive them, we can put them right in the refrigerator and let them thaw. You can keep them in the refrigerator for 30 days. So it's far easier to work with. There's no cold chain supply issues. We don't have any of those sorts of issues. So I highly doubt we're going to get any of the Pfizer, primarily because the state is sending them to the larger counties, Douglas, Tri-County, Larimer, et cetera, which is fine with us. We don't have a negative 80 freezer, and we'd much rather work with the Moderna vaccine. Just from a logistics perspective, it's simpler for our staff.
Okay. Thank you, Dr.
On that, the fact that you get some extra doses and you definitely don't want to waste those doses, can't you do kind of a rolling thing so that when you get to that point where you know, they got to get their second dose and you got 104, maybe you just don't call in so many people for the new batch that's coming in at that one, so that you have your running your rollings.
Yeah, but speaking of rolling, when that snowball rolls down the hill, it gets really hard to get a control of it and make sure that you're following now hundreds of people, because you're to that point. I mean, if we're receiving 200 or maybe 400, who knows what next week's going to bring. It becomes a little bit more challenging, and the more of those logistical challenges we can avoid, the better. And we don't know if these next vials are going to have additional doses in them. We can't really count on that.
Okay. All right, let's wrap up with Dr. Ryan. Any more questions from our public health director? All right, thank you, Dr. Ryan, for joining us on Mondays and kind of giving us an update on what we're doing bad, what we're doing good, and how we should be moving out into the future. It sounds like we're kind of on the right track here, and we'll stand strong and continue to do things like we've been told and directed to do. So thank you very much.
Appreciate that.
Really.
Right. I want to go around. Let's go with Alyssa and John Kane, and Dan Ebert, if you want to pipe in with us too. As we all know, President Trump signed a bill, I believe, late last night. Can you give us an update on what that's going to look like for, one, our CARES funding, two, the second round of PPP that Dan Ebert can probably help us out with, and just kind of what we should be expecting over the next couple of weeks?
Yeah. Thanks, Mike. It is both a blessing and a curse at the same time that it has been extended. The new deadline for us to spend all the funds is December 31st, 2021. We have over a year. What this means, this doesn't mean much for the community because we are still planning on moving forward with getting it spent the way we were planning on spending it. It just means a little extra time for us internally to process all of the check requests and everything that we need to do to get the reimbursement request sent to the federal government. Again, we are planning on spending all of this as quickly as we can. We are fairly close. We have a couple things we need to do this week. Some of you have received emails from me. If you could get that to me as quickly as possible, that would be great. One of the reasons that we have decided to go ahead and spend it in the ways that we had previously identified is that it will free up my time to be able to look for additional grants and apply for those. Right now, my day is pretty much dedicated to business grants and figuring out where all this money is going. So once we get all of this spent and it is sent to finance to get submitted for reimbursement, I will be able to look for additional funding and kind of reassess where we are in terms of needs in the community. I feel like I've been nose to the ground so much recently that I haven't had much time to really talk to people and figure out where the needs are and how those have evolved. And so I really, the beginning of the year, hope to start doing that. I just got off the call, and I know George was on that as well, about significant money that's going to be sent to the states for housing support. So we're still working through the details of what that's going to look like, but there is significant funds coming for housing support. We don't know how much we're getting. And then we also did find out last week or the week before, all my weeks are running together, that we were awarded $100,000 from Mile High United Way for individual support. And so I know a lot of you have sent that grant to your employees that you've either had to furlough or lay off. The money that we had put into that program initially was going to expire on the 30th. It has been exhausted, that $50,000, but we now have $100,000 put into that. And so again, reminder, that is for housing support. So mortgage or rent paid directly to the landlord or the bank, as well as utility support and childcare, any eviction related costs that people are facing. And I will put the link to that application in the document or in the chat. The Grand Foundation is administering this for us. She is on a much needed break at the moment. And so she will start processing those applications when she gets back. Does anyone have any questions for me regarding CARES dollars? It just got passed yesterday, so we're still working through the details on what that means. There is, other than the housing support, there is no additional funds for local government. So we will not be able to continue the business grant program unless we find additional funding for that. But that's all I have. Anyone have any questions? No?
Anybody have any questions for Alyssa?
I'm available if you have anything. Feel free to text or email or call me. Texting is probably the easiest way to get a hold of me.
Real quick, John, I think you had on the agenda something about another, is it another round of the, I want to call it the Ready Grant? John?
I believe is an old agenda.
Oh, okay. That's
Yeah.
why I was thrown off. It was an old agenda. Okay.
Mayor Hillman.
Around to that. All right, let's open it up. This is Steve. How was
Hey.
the weekend? What did you see? And anything for thought that we might want to consider?
Mayor Hillman, just real quick before we jump into the businesses, another thing on the relief front that I think businesses should be aware of is that by getting open to 25% for restaurants, we are not eligible as a county for the state relief program. It grants of about $3,700, and we won't be receiving those.
Okay. All right. I think everybody's, I'm more than thrilled to be open at 25%. I looked at my numbers with the go, and then a matter of one day, the next day, all of a sudden it's like, wow, now I can pay myself and pay my help and pay for food. So yeah, whether people realize it or not, that 25% for all of our restaurants is huge. It's it's a small number, but it's a huge for us to survive. Thanks for that, George. Appreciate it. Steve?
Yeah, we did pretty good past few days. We stayed open normal business hours through Christmas and did well with a skeletal crew and a pared down menu, and there wasn't a lot of choices for people to eat in town, so we did pretty well. On Saturday was a really good day because the weather was so nice that we could do 25% indoors, but then all of our outdoor seating was taken up because people didn't have any problem sitting out in the open because it was like 55 degrees on the side of the building. That was great. And then Sunday, things were still good, slowed down a little bit because it wasn't comfortable to sit outside. We were getting feedback from people coming down from Summit County saying over the weekend, the average restaurant up there was a 3-hour wait. So
Really?
that's all I have.
Wow, 3-hour wait. Let's see, who do we have? Asta, how was your weekend?
Hi, everybody. It was great. It was nice to be able to have people inside again, and my locals were stoked. We're a lot smaller than you guys, so we were full like most of the time. But a lot of people used our picnic tables and stuff on Saturday, and tons of out-of-towners still, which I guess we expect. But yeah, it was great. It's great to be partially open. So thank you, guys.
All right. Chip, do you have an update for us?
Yeah, obviously it was a whole lot better than when we had no indoor seating. I'm still totally amazed at how many people are willing to sit outside on our patio. And I concur with Steve that, Saturday was definitely better than Sunday. I'm happy to have 50 people coming in. I wish we could get more, but we'll take whatever we can get. So I guess that's about all I have at this point. Thanks.
All right. Let's hear from Randy.
Hey, yeah, I mean,
I didn't recognize you. That hat. You came on. I said, "Who is that
Where's
guy?"
Randy?
I had to
Where's
get
Randy?
close.
Randy? Oh, there.
I can't reach it. I mean, I'll just echo the same as what Steve and Chip said. Saturday was better than Sunday. The weekend was better than the prior weekend. And I think opening up is going to continue to bring more people up. So it's everything's moving in the right direction. So kind of, echoing what Steve and Chip said.
All right, well, that's good to hear. Dan, we've got Dan Wester from our building department. We'd like him to be on here. We've got some things going on, and this gives us an opportunity to ask Dan right up front. Do we need to be thinking about something different, or can you come up here and check this out to make sure that we're doing everything right? Does anybody have anything that they'd like to ask Dan Wester? Or do you have anything for us, Dan?
We got word this morning that the state is running a program that if you're at, let's say, level red, you can do that 5-star program and get to a level 1 below to an orange to allow you to open. And a lot of the counties have approached us to do the inspections for that 5-star program. So we may have some more information on that coming up real soon. I'm meeting with, it'll be run out of my office. I'm meeting with some people from our corporate headquarters Wednesday and again next Monday. So I'm not sure if we can go from orange, jump down 1 level, but I know that there's a lot of restaurants. They're starting with restaurants and then they're going to go to maybe gyms, different other kind of businesses to jump down 1 level. So I'll know more about that after Wednesday. Has anybody heard anything about that? I was going to ask the doctor about that, but he took off pretty quick.
Hey, Dan, I'm still here.
Oh, Dr. Ryan is still here. He's just
sorry. I'm eating lunch. Couple things. One, I put it in the chat. I'm really happy to hear the positive news from all the businesses. It's as I said, it's a marriage between health and economics, and I think our marriage is going well so far. Also, a huge shout out to the businesses that have been supporting my staff during this time. Tommy Knockers and Frothy Cup and others who have been there and supporting us as we have vaccination clinics, etc. As far as the 5-star program, right now, because our numbers are in red and we're technically operating in orange, so we could not apply for the 5-star program until our numbers get to orange, and then we would apply for it, and our numbers we'd be allowed to have numbers in the yellow. So because we're technically in the red, but we're being allowed to operate in the orange, we can't apply for the 5-star program based on our current numbers.
Okay, that helps me. Thank you.
Yep.
Right, Dan, do you have anything else for us?
No, we did a drive-through. Wonder and Diane had asked us to slip through town last week, and we did, and everything looked great. Keep it up.
All right. As you know, last weekend was very windy, and I don't know, we may have had a couple of the ice tents damaged or something happened to them, but Georgetown, from what I heard, they had 75 mile to 100 mile an hour winds up there, and Cabin Creek lost most of their tents during that. So that's just let's make sure we're keeping them tied down, and so they don't go anywhere. Real quick, Carla, you want to give us an update on the school project?
Sure. They are starting to move dirt today, so you'll start to see more happening over there. I did see them out there early this morning, so the trucks will be coming in and out here in the next couple weeks, so that those 4 parking spaces along the edge are going to be probably blocked off for a good amount of time here. Right now, the schedule takes us out 3 or 4 months.
Okay, well, it's exciting that we finally got to this space, got the funding to create a nice area over there in between.
We have most of the funding. We are still taking donations and doing commemorative plaques for our wall. We because of some things that happened with the some of the other projects that the school district is working on, we are still struggling to put in turf over there. So we're looking for ways of coming up with $50,000 to pay for the turf itself, as opposed to just sod and topsoil. So just so you know, we are, if you're interested in a commemorative plaque, we have our donations wall. I know this is not the time to be asking you guys this, but just so you know, we are looking at options and ways that the community can contribute in the next couple months for that.
All right, thank you for that, Carla. All right, we got about 20 minutes left. What I want to do now is just open it up just for some conversation. Steve, in the next couple days, weather permitting, we'll have those other couple of barriers over there for you. And we should be set for the rest of the winter. Nobody asked for any more. I did see Greg over at Saturday this weekend. He was over there clearing his space out, and then he posted that he was open again. So that's good to hear that he's reopened and gonna push through. I couldn't be more proud of our community sticking together and you know, doing the things that we're doing. Just we're in survival mode. The whole county's in survival mode, and it's not to be a part of this group that we can brain dump and come up with creative and good ideas to move forward. Hey, Dan, do you have anything with PPP or a second round of PPP?
Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me, Mike.
I'm sorry?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Perfect, good. Yeah, as Alyssa said, this just got signed yesterday, and we don't know any of the details yet. With that last round, from what was originally passed, the CARES Act back in March, it all got revamped by the Treasury Department. So within 3 weeks' time. So what was written wasn't actually what went into effect. So what we do know, or what we think we know, is that businesses that can show that they've had at least a 25% decrease in volume or of sales during a quarter of 2020 will be eligible for reapplying. Obviously, any business that hasn't applied yet can apply. We think that the multiplier is still the 2.5 for most businesses, potentially maybe 3.5 for businesses involved in the hospitality industry, which benefits restaurants, hotels, and so forth. There's a few businesses that are excluded types. There's nonprofits like chambers of commerces are now eligible if they were not before, as long as they fall into the right classification. I think that we'll get guidance and the application form sometime, probably not this week, hopefully mid to end of next week is when we'll be able to start taking applications. As it's written currently, people don't need to provide that evidence at application that they've had the 25% decrease in business. They have to provide it at the application for forgiveness. Once again, who knows if it'll stay that way. Yeah, you know, END will be participating in this again. So we're limited in how much we can lend out. We did 18 million in the first round. We have received back for forgiveness roughly 10 million of that so far, but we still have 8 million that's hanging out there that we still haven't gotten back from the Treasury Department. So that ties our hands a little bit in how much we can do in the second round. My guess is that we'll do another 7 to 10 million is what we'll be able to do for the local communities. And we'll target those businesses that we have already helped prior or existing customers first.
All right. Thank you, Dan, for that update. It's always nice to have you on here as well from the banking side. Did you have something else, Alyssa?
Yeah, I just had a question for the businesses, for the restaurants. I was just wondering if you're seeing any increased sales due to the ice skating rink.
Alyssa, I think it's really hard to say
Hard to
because
tell.
they just opened this past weekend, and I think Saturday was the kind of the first day. So it's very difficult to say right now.
Okay, the reason I ask is, okay, yeah, I just was wondering, because I had met with the rec district on the ice skating rink to try to brainstorm some ideas on how we could push those people to the restaurants after they finished or before they went skating. And so I'm open to any suggestions that anyone has to try to improve this and help you guys out.
Do you know how is the skating going? How are they doing down there?
I haven't heard. I'm not sure. I haven't talked to them today.
I
I did see some pictures and it looked fun.
Yeah, I did talk with Cameron on Saturday night, late Saturday or something like that. And, you know, they were running wild. Now, I don't know whether they're running wild because they were super busy or running wild because it was day one.
Right. Yeah.
But she
Yeah.
said they were really busy, really moving.
So Chip, I noticed you've got your pizza truck. How are you going to use that in that operation? Are you just going to, does that have ovens in it to cook pizzas in the thing? Oh, it
Yeah.
does. You
Yeah.
cook. Okay, good.
I mean,
Good.
pretty much totally self-contained, pretty much.
Okay.
They
That's
have
good.
venues and, you know, wherever. We take,
Sorry,
like,
say that again.
take care of them up there or.
Hey, Alyssa, this is Asta from the Moose. Can I just say something about the skating?
Sure.
I took my kids the first day and they loved it. And then I've tried to take them a couple other times and they've been sold out. So I think it's going really well. They have limited spaces. I think you can only have like 15 people on at a time, but it's awesome. And everybody that I've talked to that's gone loves it. And I would love to work with you guys to do like maybe like a passport book or something like, hey, we get a business or an offer from all the businesses after skating, come get like a beer at Tommyknockers or whatever. So I'd love to talk to you about that. Some ideas.
Sure.
That we
Yeah, I'd be
Okay.
happy to help in any way. And I'm sure the rec district would love to do something like that. And maybe
okay,
we
cool.
can get the tourism bureau on board too.
Be awesome.
Well, I was going to say we need to be calling the chamber here in Idaho Springs to be a part of that and help with that too. So, John, can you help make that happen?
I'll send an email to the board.
All right. Thank
Contact
you.
I'll take care of it. Yeah.
It'd
All
be
right.
nice to put a book like that together with, you know, the various different retail merchants and so forth. I'd love to have something like that in the restaurant that we could give to our guests so that they know things that are available, the you know, unique businesses that are there and things that they can get. I'd really like to be able to have that somehow. Always have.
Thanks for that, Jeff. I was hoping Linda was going to be on with us today. Okay. So we don't have anybody from the retail side to talk to. All right. Anything else that we need to consider? I know we're going to have some snow over the next couple of days. I'm not sure exactly how much. So that will probably affect a little bit of the outdoor seating. And how's the plowing going? Is our public works keeping it pretty clear down there? Once you clear your area and throw it over the wall, they're doing a good job. Okay, it's good to hear. It's good to hear. All right. Let's see. I think that's all I've got. Sounds like everybody's working towards New Year's, and this should be I had a pretty decent day already today, so I hope everybody else is experiencing the same. Okay, last chance, speak up. All right, thanks again, everybody. Thanks, Kate from the library district being on with us today to kind of hear what's going on. And if anything comes up, you have any questions, John, Andy, myself, Alyssa, Jora, give us a call and
Hey, Mike.
hopefully we can help you.
Sorry, I do have one question. Sorry, I wear a mask at the library, so can you hear me?
Yes.
What's been the last word on and I know this is kind of off topic of economics, but it does still kind of go into that area of the kids that are running around town trying to break into cars and things like that. What was the last word on that?
I know that Chief, we probably need to talk to the chief and see what's going on with the chief. I don't know. I guess Empire, I haven't heard of anything in Clear Creek County unincorporated. It's all been into the communities that this has been happening. We've talked about that on our morning meetings, Kate,
Okay.
with staff, and it's back to the same thing. We only have a certain amount of officers on it. A certain.
Oh, no, and I'm not talking. I just want to get the word out if anybody asks me. I've had a few people ask, I guess a couple cars pulled up to my house in the last couple weeks and did some weird stuff. So I'm just curious as a citizen, not as, and then just to help kind of diffuse fears if there's any.
Yeah.
I know the boys do the best they can. I do.
Yeah, no, yeah. And that's what, it's just, if somebody underneath a vehicle cutting off a catalytic converter, that's, that's crazy to even hear about it.
Yeah.
That's as bad as siphoning gas out of gas tanks, right?
Yeah. But I do want to do a shout out to all you guys. Thank you so much for everything that you all are doing. I feel so proud to be a Clear Creek County resident. And again, I'm going to, join in on these meetings whenever I can. If there's anything I can do to help or the library can do, I will gladly bring it to Libby. But thank you, thank you, thank you.
All right, thanks, Kate. All right, with that, everybody, go back to work. No, if there's not anything else, we'll go ahead and dismiss this meeting. As Chip, Randy, Steve, we're not having our 3 o'clock meeting today. So,
Thank you.
all right.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Work.
Hey, Steve.
Oh, also, John, Kate Collier asked if we could get out the number for testing sites, if we could get that on Facebook.
Yeah, I can do that. George, is that the same? That's the same one it's been, right? I tried to call it and it was disconnected for some period of time.
I haven't heard that it's changed. I don't have the number off the top of my head.
I can get it. Don't worry. I'll figure it out. I just want to see if you might know by head. Okay.
Thanks.
All right. Thanks,
By
everybody.
the way, everybody feels bad. It got down to 67 degrees the other night. It's definitely winter time.
Hey, well, Chip, guess what? It was 67 degrees in Denver on Thanksgiving. So there you go. Does this have anything to do with global warming? That Hawaii's going to turn cold and all the other states are going to go warm?
I think so.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Hey, Steve.
Yeah.
I tried to get Natalie earlier. Could you ask her to give me a ring, give her my number or something? Is she still there? Is she still there? Okay. Yeah. I just got one more follow-up question for her.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Steve.